What's my biggest concern in markets? Well, there's a lot. Um, where shall we begin?
Well, it's great to be here with 32-year market veteran Mark Dicker, Senior Advisor, Global Strategy of Nvidia, and CEO, Dicker & Co. Hey, Mark.
Hi, thanks, Troy. I've known you a long time. Love talking markets, so it's good to do this.
Well, we know that you have seen a lot during your career through, ups and downs. You have been in Hong Kong, Singapore, Taiwan, Silicon Valley, Vietnam. So what would be, your biggest concern right now?
What's my biggest concern in markets? Well, there's a lot. Um, where shall we begin? I'll go with the AI bubble that everybody's talking about. The reason it's kind of near and dear, I grew up in Silicon Valley, and so seeing kind of firsthand as well the .com bubble and burst, and being a historian. I was a history major actually. I started in finance when I was young, but I was a history major and studying the Great Depression and that crash. There's so many parallels to what's going on. And where I come from, I'm not a strategist. I've been in markets for 32 years, is the behavioral science part and why people are acting the way they act when they act. Well, what are they thinking? What are they scared of? And what concerns me most about this AI bubble is all of the wealth investors that I've been talking to over the last kind of year and a half. They have that same talk of the internet back in the dot-com bubble. And that is that this is the future. This is it. This is, you must be in it. Any kind of correction or pullback should be bought or held. And I'm a long-term investor. That's what people say. So let's go back. The bellwether stock during the Great Depression and that run was RCA, Radio Corporation of America. And radio was the new thing. Then everybody thought, this is it. First time hearing audio over the airwaves. That stock was over 100, went to 2,
Wow.
and never recovered. Over 30 years, I think it got back to around 60. GE finally bottomed. But all of those investors that thought, this is the future. It's absolutely the future, and I will just hold it into any type of correction. They got severely burned. In the dot-com bubble, Cisco was that same thing. Cisco was the bellwether. They're the infrastructure that's needed for the internet. And that stock was over 100. Dot-com bubble burst, went down to 2, never recovered, ever. Okay. So what scares me in Nvidia, and specifically AI-related stocks, anyone in this last 1 to 3 years gets it that AI is very real. We've all been engaged with ChatGPT, and we've seen how it makes our lives easier. A company that we work together with, I saw their legal savings from just ChatGPT was they spent annually $15,000. Now they spend $3,000 just for. So we get it. It's real. It's making us more efficient. We need humans less. But if you relate it to my home state, the California gold rush, okay, and everybody was coming to California because they found gold, and they were having to get shovels, tin pans. Think of Nvidia as the shovel for AI.
Right.
It's the necessary entity. Well, in the gold rush, not as much gold was found as people expected. Same thing here. DeepSeek was only 6 months ago. That upended the Nvidia rally for a period of time. China's investing in R&D and their investment in engineers. So what could upend the movement that Nvidia specifically and all AI related stocks, that's what really concerns me most. And people's kind of not naivete, but their comfort in riding through the storm. That that would concern me most. Yeah.
That's very interesting, Mark. So you talked about Nvidia and, lots of other names. Well, what are the really, names that are high on your list? Is Stop to Be Life.
Yeah, thanks, Joy. There's a lot around the region in the U.S., and I think it's easiest, instead of spending a bunch of time here talking about it, the newsletter that I write for Financia. If you're not currently a client of Financia, just contact a rep, or you can put in the YouTube comments, and I'll make sure you get the newsletter. But they've been going for the last year, 13 months. And so there's tons of content in there, and that would probably be the easiest way to see all the different names that I like around the region.
Well, but what are you most optimistic about,
Well, yeah, it's good. We start with what's, scary, and people's ownership of, Max 7 stocks as well. I've been talking about reducing holdings. So I'm extremely bullish and optimistic China. And there's a few really major reasons. First, we start geopolitical because everybody wants to talk about China and America and that kind of Cold War. I think China's winning, and I don't think it's even close. They're not making any movements when U.S. and China talk, or very little. And as we're seeing with China, as well as other countries around the world, with the policies that have been enacted in the U.S., China's exports this year are going to be up anywhere from 6 to 10%. And the market share of their exports to the US is going to drop from 20, I've seen as low as 10%. Wow. So they're decoupling from the US. Every country around the world is looking to do that for reasons that are understood. They can't trust that trading partner as much as they used to. So China being able to decouple from the U.S., fill the vacuum, the global leadership vacuum that we're seeing America vacate, their savings. Here we're sitting here in Thailand. Thailand has insane household debt. It's like almost 90%.
Huh.
China's is 60, and China's safe. The estimated number right now is 23 trillion US dollars of savings. Wow. Yeah. And since their crisis that began in 2020, there's been an increase in savings at like 75%. Wow. So they just hold on to their wallet. Whereas Americans, Thais, and most of the world, they try to maintain their lifestyle by borrow. Chinese are saving. Lastly, I think when you look at crisis, so the one that's near and dear to our hearts here in Thailand, we probably could see a couple of the skeleton buildings. Real estate and property in emerging markets are a kind of a key indicator how things are doing. And in the Chinese crisis and collapse, what the best pundits in the world say is that it takes 4 years to flush out that inventory, that excess that people buy. And in January, February of this year, the number is when transactions in the real estate sector drop 80% year on year, that signals that the capitulation has taken place. And that happened. Same thing happened in Thailand. It took about 4 years from 98. The market started roaring in 2002. So it's very similar to China, but it took time for that person. Oh, I've bought this using credit, this home, I'm sitting on it, it's down 20%, it's down 30%, and then they finally sell. And they sell, and there's huge transactions, and then it's dead. And then the markets can kind of begin to surge. So I think China is providing the opportunity of a lifetime. I'd be investing in Hong Kong stocks. Chinese listed Hong Kong stocks is where I have the majority of my global portfolio right now.
That's great. Certainly very helpful. Well, a lot for the viewer to digest. Sure. So, speaking of clients, what have you been asked the news about recently?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and I do get a lot of questions. I'd say most have focused around, Mag 7, China. One that comes up a lot now because of the tax structure here in Thailand is the DRs. I think there's over 120 now listed.
Yes.
Great product. I've worked for investment banks. You've worked for investment banks. So it's a great product that you're providing people to access these overseas investments, but invest locally. And you have the tax savings. The problem is the very nature of the issue. It's that the investment house is looking at what's most popular. What do people care about the most? What is in the news the most? Those aren't the names, and that might not be the time made that you'd want to be an investor in those. It'd be a time to sell, most likely. So I would, if it were me, and I know Finanza has a phenomenal DR report covering just about every single one of them. I'd ask my rep and I'd look, what's trading the least? What are people talking about less than all the others? And that's where I would invest in with the Thai DRs. With, I mentioned, ask a lot about, China and their holdings, ask a lot about Max 7. Going back to kind of the bubble that we're in, I think people want to know when to sell, when to exit. And I think when you're considering that, the emotions that drive that, it's time to sell. If you're concerned about selling, it's time to sell. It's time to reduce. So again, I get asked a lot, and I would reduce. I give you a couple bits. We had one of the leading Silicon Valley private equity funds, Mike Jung, on with us on a Finanza Zoom call, January of this year. And he said 5 years ago, say 5 to 10% of the companies they were looking at and investing in were AI related or had some kind of AI component. Now, 100%.
Wow.
That concerns me. Yeah, that concerns me. And I think further to that kind of this euphoric kind of move that we're in with not only AI but also the Mag 7 stocks, valuations wise. US is typically traded, the S&P is typically traded 15, 16 times earnings. China's at 15, 16 times right now. US is at 26 times with the Max 7 and Nvidia is up at 60 to 100 times. So that just concerns me as well. When I moved back to Silicon Valley, we bought a 1951 home, and that's when there was a huge building boom, after World War II, the baby boomers. And the American dream was to get married young in your 20s, save a bit for a down payment, and then buy a home. And ever since the first Trump administration, where a president of the United States talks about the stock market a lot, kind of constantly, at least every week or two, young people, specifically male, their American dream is to make money in the markets. So they're investing in markets. So one thing that you asked me what concerns me the most is everybody knows what ETFs are now. They're giving you exposure to a basket of stocks, an index. So 2 years ago, there was 100 leveraged ETFs in the US. And what that means is if these stocks go up 1%, this leveraged ETF will go up 1.5% to 2%. Okay. Conversely, if it drops, it's going to go down that much. There's 1,000 now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Scary.
Very scary, Joe. 900 have been created in the last 2 years. You're seeing people branding their name, and I pick these stocks, and they're raising billions of dollars in the ETF. So it's very scary. So I get asked a lot about just the frothiness of the bubble. As well, I was thinking what I get asked a lot about is US dollar and should I buy bonds at 5%? Yeah. And the way I like to think of it is that's 5 years ago. If you were concerned about your currency, say Thai baht, you didn't think twice about moving it into US dollars. That was your reserve currency.
Yes.
That's where I'm going to be safe, right?
Very clear. Yeah.
Right?
That's the only place. Yeah.
That was the only place. You may have thought of yen, something about it, but not real. As well, the faith that you had in, let's say, US bonds at 5%, 4% even, you wouldn't have questioned it. That's not there now. It's just not. That structural shift that has taken place with people diversifying away from the US dollar. I get asked a lot about that. Oh, should I buy US dollar now? Should I buy bonds? And my suggestion is no. No. Do I think Thai baht's going to weaken all the way to 35? It's gone from 31 back up to 32.5 or weakened to 32.5. No, but I would not be a buyer. Yeah.
Great. That's really, really interesting. Well, Mark, since you have lived in Vietnam not so long ago and had, Mark has helped investors with this market since 95. So what is your prospects on it?
Yeah, so love Vietnam as an investable country. If I was managing a global portfolio, it would be 10 to 15% of what I would own. The problem is I did move there. I moved there 8 years ago. I believed in the market that much. I met 100 companies in 200 days. So I was really sinking my teeth into it. And in one of my first meetings, I met the man who wrote he actually assisted on it. Sorry, not wrote. He assisted on it. The paper that the World Bank wrote on the opening of a market economy. Because Vietnam opened in 92. And his key thesis was that it takes 25 years for a market, similar to China a decade prior. It takes 25 years for that market to sophisticate, where the flood of FDI that's coming in, that the local partners work with the foreign partners instead of each other trying to kind of get over on each side. And so that was about 8 years ago, that 25 years. And so you're seeing multinationals not get burned as much with their investment. You're seeing, since China plus one, the consistent stream of FDI into the country. The problem is they're going to have 8% GDP growth, the largest, the most, the strongest growing economy in Asia. The people are educated, hardworking. The problem is that there's still only about 25 investable stocks. And, think back to Thailand in 2002 when I moved here, there was like 25 investable stocks back then. PTT, Thai Farmer Bank, Telecom Asia, Land & House. And that's where Vietnam is. So my suggestion to people when they're looking at Vietnam is buy, like Finanza has a few Vietnam funds. Buy one with an active fund manager whose sole focus is maximize your returns in that market. So I love Vietnam. You just have to be willing to accept the volatility, the potential scandal, fraud that's still, even though it's now moved up to be frontier to an emerging market, but just to be a bit cautious.
Wonderful. Well, I guess it's time to wrap up and, just to remind everyone to subscribe to the channel and, follow us, and, put any comments you have that would be helpful. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mark.